Bermondsey in London was once the centre of the leather trade and lies just south of the River Thames. In the 1840s, the stench from the multitude of tanneries filled the air. In the summer of 1849, during a cholera epidemic, 2 police officers searched the area for a missing man, Patrick O'Connor, a customs officer at the docks. He'd been reported missing by his work colleagues, but what unravelled had Londoners glued to their newspapers. The 2 officers arrived at 3 Miniver Place in Bermondsey and began searching the premises, and ended up digging up the garden. Just as they were about to give up, one of the officers noticed something odd in the kitchen. 2 flagstones had recently been removed and replaced, and this prompted him to have them lifted. Some of the earth was moved, and at around a foot down, he saw toes sticking out of the dirt. Digging deeper, the naked body of a man was discovered, lying on his belly, with his legs tied back on his haunches with a strong cord. He'd been covered in quicklime to try and hurry along the decomposition process. Suspicion arose quickly about the couple who lived at the house, Frederick and Maria Manning. Maria de Roux had been born in Switzerland in 1821. An attractive woman of 5'7", she found employment as a lady's maid to Evelyn Stewart, Lady Blantyre, the daughter of George and Harriet Sutherland Levison Gower, the Duke and Duchess of Sutherland. In 1846, as she travelled across the Channel to the continent where she was to join her mistress, fate intervened on the boat, which led to deadly consequences. She met Patrick O'Connor, a 50-year-old who was a heavy drinker on the journey. He was a known loan shark and had invested in foreign railways, so Maria took to him, or rather, took to his money, and the pair began an affair. However, he wasn't the only one interested in the raven-haired beauty. Frederick George Manning was the same age as Maria, but had little to offer in the way of cash. He was a guard on the Great Western Railway, but told Maria he was coming into money. Maria made her choice and married the quiet Manning in St James in Piccadilly in 1847. Life took them to Taunton in Somerset, where they ran the White Hart public house, but Manning was accused of being involved in the theft of £4,000 from the trains and was sacked as a consequence. The couple returned to London and, at the instigation of O'Connor, took over the running of a pub in Shoreditch. Maria continued her affair with the customs officer and even went as far as to run away with him, but Manning found them and pleaded for Maria to go back to him. An uneasy truce was brokered, and she did, but the ménage à trois continued. As time passed, it was clear the Shoreditch business was failing, and for this she placed the blame entirely on O'Connor, and determined to get her money back from him. By the summer of 1849, the Mannings had moved to Miniver Place, but O'Connor was a constant visitor to the house, visiting the Mannings nearly every day, with Maria also visiting him at his lodgings at Greenwood Place. They lived beyond their means, so to make ends meet took in a lodger, a medical student called William Massey. Massey proved useful to Manning. He questioned the medical student about quicklime, where the weakest point of the skull was, and whether a man who had been drugged was still able to write cheques. Massey soon became suspicious with all these questions, and as a result was kicked out of the house. Maria asked O'Connor to visit their home on 8th August, which he did with a colleague. Then the following day, he returned alone. It was his last day alive. The excuse given for his visit was that the lodger's sister was coming to visit, and he would make up numbers. Maria duly invited him in and told him he could freshen up in the sink in the basement kitchen. As he walked down the stairs, Maria pulled out a pistol and shot him in the back of the head, but the bullet didn't kill him. Frederick Manning grabbed a crowbar and finished the job. The couple then stripped him and dumped him in the pre-prepared grave and covered it over with the flagstones, sealing them in place. The kitchen was then scrubbed clean with the help of a little match seller the following day. Identification of O'Connor was swift, as he had dentures. A dentist later told court that he'd known O'Connor as a patient and had sold the set of false teeth to him. Meanwhile, the Mannings fled the property. Maria went to O'Connor's lodgings and stole cash, valuables and a number of shares certificates for railway stock, while her husband went about selling all their furniture. Maria hired a cab and left, leaving her trunks at London Bridge. She then went on and bought a first-class train ticket for Edinburgh. Manning, now realising his wife had deserted him, took fright when two colleagues of O'Connor's came calling, and although he tried to buy passage to Australia, he didn't have enough money and ended up fleeing to Jersey. Police put together the case against the pair for murder, and the manhunt was on. Wanted posters were put up at ports and railway stations, and there was a reward of £100. The cab driver was tracked down by Sergeant Shaw, and he stated he'd picked up Maria at 3 Miniver Place on the afternoon of 13th August and took her to London Bridge station. They'd stopped off so she could buy white cards for her luggage and wrote on them, Mrs. Smith, passenger to Paris, to be left until called for. Police found her luggage and opened it. Among her many belongings, they found a dress and other fabric, which had bloodstains on them. In the weeks leading up to the killing, the Mannings had bought a crowbar, a shovel and a large amount of quicklime. Massey also came forward and told the police about the strange questions Manning had been asking. Superintendent Haynes of Scotland Yard discovered Maria had bought the ticket to Edinburgh, so telegraphed his Scottish colleagues, where he discovered she'd been arrested for trying to sell some railway stock to a stockbroker. The stockbroker had heard about the London theft and became suspicious due to her accent and felt fraud had taken place, so reported her to police. Maria was returned to London, where she was charged with murder and held in Horsemonger Lane Jail. Manning, meanwhile, was discovered on 21st August when he was recognised. He'd rented a room in St Lawrence and was woken up by police officers who arrested him. He informed them that Maria had shot O'Connor and that he had never liked him and had battered his head with a crowbar. He too was returned to London and placed in Horsemonger Lane Jail. The couple's trial took place on 25th and 26th October 1849 at the Old Bailey in London, before Lord Chief Baron of the Exchequer, Jonathan Frederick Pollock, Mr Justice Mall, with Mr Justice Cresswell, before whom the case was tried. The Attorney General, prosecuting on behalf of the Crown, was John Jervis. Manning was defended by Mr Sergeant Wilkins, Mr Charnock and Mr Sanders, while Mr Ballantyne and Mr Parry appeared on behalf of Maria. Maria's barrister, Ballantyne, claimed that Frederick was the ringleader in the whole affair and the murderer, but Manning's barrister insisted it was Maria, and that she had concocted the murder. The jury returned their verdict swiftly, and both were found guilty. Maria was incensed. She turned to the judge and said, "My lord, I have been treated most cruelly in this country. I am a foreigner, and I have been denied justice," continuing that she'd been treated like a wild beast in the forest. She went on that if she would have killed anyone, it would have been her husband. The Mannings were sentenced to death, with the date of execution being 13th November 1849, and the place was to be the rooftop of the gatehouse of Horsemonger Lane Jail. Around 30,000 people turned up to watch their sentence being carried out by executioner William Calcraft. Maria asked for a new pair of silk stockings, and on the scaffold she remained dignified and composed. Among those present was author Charles Dickens. Maria Manning was the last woman to be publicly hanged, with its abolition coming in 1868, when hangings were to be done behind closed doors. Her waxwork was placed in Madame Tussaud's Chamber of Horrors until the 1970s.